Hi, Judith Arcana here with tiny movie number 5. Maybe I should give names to these tiny movies, although I like calling them tiny movie number whatever. Reading to you this time again from Hello, This is Jane, my story collection. This is from a story called Soon to Be a Major Motion Picture, one of the all-time great phrases. And what's happening in this story is that there's a woman who is the narrator. The whole story is her talking. Nobody else talks in this story. Whatever happens, she tells you as the reader. And what's happening, the situation that she's in, is that she is having a conversation with some filmmakers who are meeting with her because they want to make a movie about the time that the abortion service was busted by the Chicago police in early May of 1972. And so there's a lot about that and various other things in this story. But the part I'm going to read I chose because it actually has answers in it to a lot of the questions that folks ask when Janes are out and about, giving talks, hanging out, being at meetings, being interviewed, whatever, because unfortunately this information is still valuable. It would be cool if it was just history of a valuable thing, but alas, it is continuing to be necessarily valuable or valuably necessary. Okay, so here's a reading, very short, from Soon to Be a Major Motion Picture. Yeah, that's right. We always called it the service. I know pretty much everybody who learned about us later calls the whole group Jane, or sometimes the Jane Collective, but we didn't. It was the Abortion Counseling Service of the Chicago Women's Liberation Union, which we also didn't call it. We had to shorten it, obviously, and use the one word. We called ourselves Janes. And we played with the word, called the work Janing, and at some point, like 2 years in, let's say, by 1970 or early 71, started calling a couple of the necessary jobs Big Jane and Little Jane, phone work, counseling assignments, making appointments. Lots of us did those jobs, sort of in rotation over the years. Oh, and this, we were not a collective. We'll see what happens as our work develops. She's talking to the filmmakers, whether we want to even deal with the politics of that, like how that concept got applied to the Janes by the next generations. It's interesting how language changes, like in the video documentary that came out in '95, one Jane, she's dead now, actually calls the women who came through the service clients, a word unthought of in those years, and certainly a word that she, that Jane, would never have used then. It would have been wrong in our thinking and practice to separate them from us, to professionalize the Janes. We were too raggedy-ass for that, and committed to a way of thinking and being about the work that basically damns such separation. We were women who learned how to do some necessary technical work, and we understood that most women who needed that work could do it too if they wanted to learn. Positions taken around the speculum could switch at any time. And they did. They did. There were Janes who joined up after coming through the service to get abortions. Several such Janes. Anyway, let's set aside Women's Studies 201 and get back to the movies. So that's the end of the reading part of this movie. And pretty much near the end of the movie itself, actually, remember these are tiny movies, but I wanted to read that one because I find myself frequently being asked these questions. And when I wrote that story, now more than a couple of years ago, it was a more newsy. And now I think, oh yeah, but I realize that you, all of you who are reading these stories for the first time, might very well be asking those questions. So yeah, here they are again for you this time.